This video is to show you how to use our recess mount with our dome cameras. So what you see here is our JB201C junction box, and it's a recess mount box with our 3 megapixel high-speed frame rate dome inside. I've already installed the dome here, so I'm going to show you what it looks like as the finished product, and then I'll work my way backwards. So you'll be mounting it upside down like this. This is the correct orientation for a dome. This is not a pan-tilt zoom camera, it's just a motorized zoom camera. So it doesn't go left and right or up and down, it just zooms in and out. These would hook into your drop ceiling. Here is your cable outlet. This is the pigtail coming out of the camera. So this particular camera has a cable pigtail on it. It exits through the back of the camera. Some cameras require you to thread your unterminated Cat5e, then terminate it, and then connect inside the camera. So this recess mount is made specifically for this camera. We sell lots of different mounts. Can't guarantee they'll work with a model not from us. For this video, you're basically going to need a screwdriver. I have a very low torque electric screwdriver, not a drill. And this is a T15 Torx head bit, and this is a 3mm hexagonal bit. So the hexagonal gets used here. Just going to show you working backwards. You basically remove this cover. So you basically remove this cover from the recess mount assembly. It exposes you to a cavity where you can put in the camera. In my case, the main reason I made this video is to show you that there are pre-drilled holes in the back. In the back of this recess mount that line up perfectly with our cameras. So here is one hole. The second is right there, and the third is right there. They line up perfectly. If yours doesn't and you're using a camera not from us, or a camera that's not meant for this recess mount, you can always drill your own holes and use some nuts and bolts on the back to secure the camera to the back of the mount. I have already opened this camera, so the way it goes back is the dome cover lines up with pre-drilled screw holes on the camera body. And using your Torx bit, you basically screw it back in. Before I do that, one other thing I want to show you is this camera can be mounted and positioned. So you would actually have this camera screwed into the recess mount, then position the camera the way you want. You can actually tilt it a little bit. You might want to loosen up these screws. And move the camera in the direction you want. So when you have it mounted, you always want your camera to be looking down at about a 15 to 20 degree angle. So you always want your camera to be angled down at a 15 to 20 degree angle like this, never parallel with the horizon. That's pretty much it. That's how you put the camera inside the recess mount. I'll take the full camera out just to show you in case it's not clear. Pigtail threads through the bottom cavity, lines up, open the cover, position your camera the way you want it, screw it in using some bolts, screw the top cover back on, put this back on, and go mount the camera in your ceiling tile. Here's a quick video to show you how to get the JB201C to work with our 12 megapixel and other newer dome motorized zoom cameras. So this JB201C is a recess mount. It's technically made for a high-speed license plate capture camera. The chassis used to be the same for this as well, but in 2022 they've updated the design. So the factory has now made it into this sort of a design where instead of having a pigtail, you have to take out, you have to use one of these weather grommets to thread in a unterminated Cat5 cable, terminate it, and then connect it to the PoE connection right there. This makes a more weather-tight seal when mounting the camera. But with that change in design, it also made this 201C not just plug and play anymore. These pre-drilled screw holes will not line up. Only one of them will line up. This particular camera comes with this plate. You won't be using it when you're using a recess mount, so you can throw that away. What you need to do is take this recess mount, line up this area here to this notch. So they go together like so the camera can sit flush on the recess mount. This is what yours should look like. Using a long tip mechanical pencil, you can mark the screw holes you need to drill. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remove the camera, drill those holes, put the camera back on. Please don't use a drill when you're putting in screws in through the camera because you can slip and damage the camera by mistake. Use either a low torque screwdriver or a hand-driven screwdriver. To thread this in, once you've made those screw holes, you'll need some of these machine bolts or screws, whatever you want to call them. These are number 8s. You can find them at Home Depot. These are about a 1 1/4 inch long. And you'll need some of these nuts. You can find them in a bag like this at Home Depot. They work really well. They'll thread through this camera and sit nicely. As far as the hole that you make in the bottom of this chassis of the recess mount, just make sure it's wide enough to accommodate this. That's pretty much it. Once you have that sitting in there, you can go ahead and mount it. So what you'll do is, in your finished product, the camera will be nice and secure, not rocking or anything. Put the dome cover back on. Before, of course, before that, you connect your cable inside. Put it up, and that's pretty much it. Now, if you have a hard time trying to deal with not having a pigtail coming out of this camera, you can kind of make your own pigtail. You can use a Cat5 terminated or RJ45 terminated cable threaded through the back of the camera and have it hanging outside. And then you can use a coupler to connect to the main run that you have coming in. It makes life a lot easier. If you have very long runs, I don't suggest you do that. There is a small amount of power loss through a coupler if you're using PoE, but so let's say anything up to 150 feet, you should be fine with a good quality gold pin coupler. Thanks for watching.
If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.